Good morning, everyone. My name is Andrew Hall. Call me whatever you want. I don't care. We got a lot of stories to cover this morning, and it's gonna be a crazy show. You're gonna hear things that you're not going to hear on any other channel, more than likely. This is all peer-reviewed stuff, all stuff from legitimate news sources. We're going to be talking about Ukraine. We're going to be talking about Fox News, American fascists. There's nothing more that American fascists love than foreign authoritarians. Let's take a look at Tucker Carlson as an example.
It might be worth asking yourself, since it is getting pretty serious, what is this really about? Why do I hate Putin so much? Has Putin ever called me a racist? Has he threatened to get me fired for disagreeing with him? Has he shipped every middle-class job in my town to Russia? Did he manufacture a worldwide pandemic that wrecked my business and kept me indoors for 2 years? Is he teaching my children to embrace racial discrimination? Is he making fentanyl? Is he trying to snuff out Christianity? Does he eat dogs? These are fair questions, and the answer to all of them is no. Vladimir Putin didn't do any of that.
Fox News loves Vladimir Putin. And why does Tucker Carlson love Vladimir Putin? Could it be because his boss, his real boss, Donald J. Trump, loves Vladimir Putin? Let's take a look at this story. And Exhibit 1, or I guess this is Exhibit 2, Donald J. Trump. Trump praises Putin's genius incursion into Ukraine. Once again, everyone, Nazis are stupid. They do utilize force, and they do like utilizing force. But in terms of a genius move for invading Ukraine, not really genius, just more dumb and mean. Let's see. Former President Donald Trump on Tuesday praised Russian President Vladimir Putin's decision to send Russian troops into Ukraine to support Russian-backed separatists in the Luhansk and Donetsk provinces. In an appearance on the Right Show radio program, The Buck Sexton Show, Trump broke his conspicuous silence on the crisis to applaud the Russian dictator. This is genius, he said of Putin's decision on Monday to officially recognize the breakaway provinces and authorize the use of Russian military personnel to assist them. So Putin is now saying it's independent in a large section of Ukraine. I said, how smart is that? And he's going to go in and be a peacekeeper. And we could use that on our southern border. That's the strongest peace force I've ever seen. There are many more tanks than I've ever seen. They're going to keep peace, all right. See, this is his idea of keeping peace, just going in and conquering a country right there. And somehow he thinks that's good policy for the U.S. southern border too. No, but think of it. The former president continued. Here's a guy who's very savvy. I know him very well, very, very well. By the way, this would never have happened with us had I been in office, not even thinkable. This would have never have happened. But here's a guy who says, I find that hard to believe, former President Donald J. Trump, as a person who's been talking trash about Ukraine for so long, that suddenly that you would be against Putin's invasion of the Ukraine. Let's take a look at the last slide. In case of those of you who aren't aware of the story, Trump subsequently claimed, without evidence and at odds with all the evidence gathered by U.S. intelligence officials, that it was Ukraine, not Russia, that interfered with the 2016 election. In Trump's elaborate conspiracy theory, Ukraine did this in order to frame Russia. And what was Trump's source for these claims, according to one senior government official who spoke to the Washington Post? Putin told me. American fascists love Vladimir Putin. They cannot get enough of him. And I just want to say something right now about Putin's rationalization for invading Ukraine. One of his rationalizations is that Ukraine isn't a real country. It isn't real. It's always been part of Russia. And by that logic, my friends, Estonia, Lithuania, Latvia should not exist as countries because they have historically been part of Russia. Sure, except for that small section, that small time in between the wars. In modern history, those three countries have been part of Russia. You can make an argument that Finland is really part of Russia too, right? You can say, so that's the mind of Vladimir Putin, is that anything that is historically been part of Russia, he can just take. That means Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, all of the stands in Central Asia. That's also his to take if he wants to, by that reasoning. Absurd. Sanctions, do they work? Yes, but mostly no. And I'm going to share with you. I could have just said no and pointed you to the link for you to take a look or to listen to this podcast from Freakonomics. I've mentioned this before, but it's important for me to show you. Use your ears with this, everyone. I'm going to share with you this particular segment from Freakonomics, Season 9, number 11 there. Am I showing you the video? Let me just hit this to the stream. It's a live show. It's really exciting. Do sanctions work? This is interesting.
Sanctions work really well for easy goals. The tough goals, much poorer track record.
Can you give us some numbers? And
yes.
And I'm also curious to know about your data set. How far back did you look? How good is the data on this topic, et cetera?
It's really quite good going back to World War I. So since World War I, well over 115 cases of economic sanctions, and we could really divide up and cut up the data in this way.
And this is not just the US, correct?
Oh, no, this is global. So the problem isn't whether you have a data set at all. It's, are you dividing the data in the right way? Are you mixing apples and oranges, or are you comparing the tough cases to tough cases, so to speak? And when you do, you see that sanctions for tough cases work less than 5% of the time.
Oh my goodness.
And they not only work less than 5% of the time, but about 5% of the time, they have catastrophic failure.
Once again, the link to this episode of Freakonomics is in the description below, but I thought I would just share that to you so you just don't assume I'm just saying crazy words here. Sanctions in tough cases like the invasion of Ukraine will only work 5% of the time. The other 5% of the time, there are catastrophic consequences. An example that the researcher stated was how the US cut off Japan, the oil embargo in 1940, 1941, and that caused the Empire of Japan to attack the United States of America. The United States was trying to embolden the doves within the Japanese government, and instead Japan realized that the US is cutting off oil. That means we have to attack the US to grab up oil-rich territories. Sanctions typically do not work, and they have an equal chance of going catastrophically sideways. Okay, I'm going to check out the chat before launching into some more brighter and happier news. Hope everyone's doing well. All right. Let's see how everyone's doing. Yes, I've been on vacation, by the way. I'm glad to be back. Good morning, John Christian. I hope you're doing well. And thank you, Robert X, for pointing out for like, share, and or subscribe to Laughing in Disbelief. And you know what? There's no ads here. I've been looking at other YouTube channels, and there's a lot of ads. This channel doesn't do that. I not only give you better information, show you the links, but there's no ads here. Totally funded by supporters like you. And hey, if you can't support the channel, please share. Please share. Share the videos. That would be great. Thank you. What's up, Big Zeb? Glad to see that you're here today. Chris Black and Cindy Plaza. Glad to see everyone here. Good morning. Simply Secular Day. All right. A lot of stories to cover. All right. Kendra, good morning. Let's do some bright news. Let's see. You want to have some smiles on your face? No, I'm not talking about the halftime tummy rub show. I'm talking about this news from Hemant Mehta, of course, a blogger that's also on Only Sky. And look at this. A majority of Americans are no longer 100% confident in God's existence. The bad news, nearly half of Americans are still absolutely sure God exists. Links to the description are in, the link to the article is in the description below, everyone. Look, there's a graph. The percentage of American adults who say they absolutely know of God's existence and have no doubts about that whatsoever has dropped below 50% for the first time in recorded memory. That's according to recent data, according to the General Social Survey. Hey, look at that. There's a nice little chart. The share of American adults who say, I know God really exists and I have no doubts about it. It's at 49.66%. And it was back in 1988. A lot more people were drinking the Kool-Aid back then. This is also, we're talking about how young people, young adults are turning away from a personal God. And you can see this too. This is also a bit of good news. So this is about adults aged 18 to 34. And you can see that line for atheists, agnostics, or belief in a higher power. I don't know why that is actually included. It should just be atheist or agnostic. But that is generally rising to what, 40%? And the amount of young adults who believe in God with no doubts is just under that. Good news overall. I will criticize my fellow blogger and far more popular person than I am, Hemant Mehta, is that whenever we talk about these numbers, about a majority, it doesn't matter what the numbers are. It could be about God. It could be about a majority of citizens in the US support universal health care. It doesn't matter. And even though it's a positive number, I just want to say that just because a majority feels a certain way or believes a certain way does not mean that's going to become policy. Small, well-funded groups steer major policies, right? We saw that with the Tea Party. We saw that with Christian evangelicals influencing the Republican Party. Small groups influence major policy. So it's really nice. It's really nice that more Americans don't believe in God or are not that sure that there's a God. But does that mean we're not going to be taken over by right-wing fundamentalists? And what I would say to my friend, and I'm going to write an article about this too on Sky, a non-funny article, unfortunately, that, hey, it's important to point out whenever you write these things to say positive numbers, but it's still the small group of very motivated people can still ruin it all for all of us, because they're ruining it for us now, to tell you the truth. And the most important thing that you can do is to go out and vote, in the midterm elections. I don't see how we, as atheists, as progressives, as Democrats, however you want to label yourself, if you're creating content, do not finish with, or at least include, the necessity to go out and vote in the midterm elections, everyone. I don't see. It's irrational. That's what it is. I want to show you a video. Maybe this is one of the reasons why so many young Americans, young adults, are no longer Christians. Let's take a look at this.
And you have to ask yourself this: how did he move those timbers around?
Yeah.
How did he pick up those timbers and move them around? Well, there's something called, everything has a frequency.
Yeah.
This AirPod case has a frequency. If you could, because it's made of matter, if you could match the frequency of this AirPod case and you knew what it was and you could match it, you could pick it up off the ground without touching it, just through sound. It had to be moved with sound. Well, that's brilliance of mind that we don't possess right now. We see, all the technology just actually showed how dumb man has become in comparison to how smart Noah and Adam and all of them were.
Yeah, that could be, or craziness like that could be one of the reasons why young Americans, young citizens of the United States of America, are turning away from talking snakes and zombies. Gonna check out the chat before doing the halftime tummy rub show. Thank you, Blazing Wizard Pope. Try the elderberry soup. It's fantastic. Interesting. Christo-fascists. That's right, Cindy Plaza. And that's what they are. They are Christo-fascists. And they want to turn the states here into some kind of Christo-fascist version of Saudi Arabia. All right, checking out the chat. I think I got, oh, by the way, did I tell you that there's the after show party? There's the after show party. If you want to be on the panel, there's a link in the description below. If you just want to watch, there's a link to the video too. It's on the sister channel. It isn't on this channel. It's on the Naked Diner podcast channel, everyone. All right. Halftime tummy rub show. Let's take a look at a cat.
I said, do you wanna fight me? Do you wanna catch these hands? Bitch, I'll catch you in the street.
Oh, there's nothing like cats, right? The whole world Rome can burn. But is my cat okay? Is my cat happy? Here we go. Well, the thing is, I will say this. I'm just going to bounce off what you just said. And I'm not going to try to pronounce your name. R, can I just call you R? There are, in terms of authoritarians, Putin is not that abnormal in terms of, especially when you take a look at history in Europe, in between the wars, at the months and years before World War II, there was, by that guy with a mustache in Germany, he was claiming he was taking Germanic lands back into the Reich. So there are definitely similarities that you can see between the interwar period and what's going on now. And I'm not saying that there's going to be World War III because of what Putin's doing in Russia right now, but there is a similarity going on there. Okay. What's the last story? What are we doing for a last story today? Here we go. Lauding vaccines. Fox Neil Cavuto says a second bout of COVID nearly killed him. I actually feel sorry for Neil Cavuto. The man has a variety of different of health issues, real serious health issues. He had COVID for a second time. He's been talking about vaccines on Fox News, and he's got nothing but grief from it from the Fox News fans. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's get into the story proper. Veteran Fox business host Neil Cavuto's extended unexplained absence from the network over the past 5 weeks has raised questions for many viewers, some wondering whether something sinister was afoot. Others feared he had suddenly died. Upon returning to a show, Cavuto, Coast to Coast on Monday, the anchor said the latter guess was nearly correct. A second bout of COVID-19 landed him in the intensive care unit, where he said things were touch and go for some time. His doctor basically told him, hey, if you weren't vaccinated and boosted, you would probably be dead. Cavuto, who has multiple sclerosis and survived stage 4 cancer and open heart surgery, counted himself among the roughly 3% of Americans who has a weakened immune system and cannot sustain the full benefits of the COVID-19. But he said some defense was better than no defense. Neil Cavuto seems to be making sense. But how did the Fox News fans, the audience, respond? This was the second bout of COVID-19 for Cavuto, who received death threats last October when he disclosed his diagnosis and urged viewers to get vaccinated to protect themselves and vulnerable members of their community. Receiving death threats for being pro-science, for being acting in a humanistic kind of way, in an empathic way, in a compassionate way. Nick Cavuto saying, hey, you should get the vaccine not only for yourself, but for the 3% of citizens here in the States who have impaired immune systems. And what did he get for it? Death threats. But, I just got to bounce down to the last paragraph. Unvaccinated people were 97 more times likely to die from Omicron compared with those who were boosted, the CDC. Rochelle Walensky said earlier this month. Some 64% of the U.S. population is fully vaccinated, according to NPR's vaccine tracker. And of course, you can check on your state there. If you want to check out the full story about Neil Cavuto, the link is in the description below. And the thing is, Neil Cavuto, I mean, when you're on Fox News, Mr. Cavuto, you are giving legitimacy, right? You are part of that horrible organization that is actively trying to kill citizens of the United States of America by telling them vaccines aren't real, that COVID, that are lessening or trying to make people believe that COVID-19 isn't that much of a problem. How can you be part of an organization like that, Mr. Cavuto, in good conscience, when COVID just nearly killed you? Shouldn't you just go on to maybe CNBC, right? Or Bloomberg News, maybe. Other channels will take you in. You don't have to be part of fascist Fox News. I'm going to check out the chat one more time before wrapping up the show. Hey, I hope you enjoyed everything today, everyone. I hope you liked the channel. I hope you liked the video. All that groovy stuff. Groovy? Did I just say that? I don't know. I don't like that. Checking out the chat. And I think I'm caught up to date. Oh, that's right, Terry, because death threats would help matters. That's right. Well, you know, those people who were giving death threats to Mr. Cavuto, they were trying to cancel him, right? The people who are always crying out about cancel culture, wokeness, they're the ones who are willing to use force and threats, real threats, physical threats to silence people. All right. I'm going to drop the thank you video. I'm going to drop another cat video. And hey, if you have any questions, if you want to talk about any of the stories that we covered today, join us for the after show party at 9:30. That would be nice, right? Thanks for watching. Doing the same crazy thing tomorrow, everyone. Check out the show tomorrow. Take care.
Parents be like, I put a roof over your head, clothes on your back, food on your table. Ain't that what you supposed to do? I'm your child. You had me. I ain't asked to be here. I'm yours.